Who has ever worked with RubyMotion? Perfect. Okay, so before I start, I would like to say a few words about myself. So my name is Mateus Armando. I'm actually not a Rubyist or Pythonist or something like that. I actually am a network guy. I work for Deutsche Telekom. So I am actually infrastructure engineer. So we build all the network stuffs in Germany, but also in other European countries where T-Mobile or Deutsche Telekom are working. Well, now to RubyMotion. RubyMotion is a Ruby implementation on top of the Objective-C runtime. What does it mean? So RubyMotion is just like JRuby, the Ruby implementation on top of the JVM, or what we saw earlier, the Topaz, which is also Ruby implementation on with Python and so on. So why would someone want to do something like that? Actually, if you have ever tried to write application for iOS or macOS, you will have directly to do this in Objective-C. It's actually a nice language, but sometimes it has some limitations. And the idea behind, so RubyMotion is actually 2 years old, almost 2 years old project, but earlier we had another project which was MacRuby, which is the same idea, but it was long before we had iOS devices. So you were able to write Ruby, macOS application in Ruby. It was quite nice, so your code got compiled, and it ran native code, so it was just as quick as Objective-C code. And we had some really nice features like JIT, so just-in-time compilation and so on. But the biggest issue was that MacRuby was garbage collected. Apple had a garbage collection in their platform, but when they introduced iOS devices, they removed it. So they deprecated it, and iOS never was a garbage collector. So if you were writing code in Objective-C, you had to do the memory management by hand. So it's really hard work. It actually sucks sometimes, but it is how this thing works on the Apple platform. Then we tried to move MacRuby to iOS devices, and we saw some difficulties to implement this. First of all, Ruby is also garbage collected, so it's tied together with garbage collection. You were not able to run Ruby without doing a lot of memory leaks and so on the iOS devices. And we had one guy, which is actually the develop leader from MacRuby, which is so the founder from MacRuby, and he found also RubyMotion. He's Laurent Sancionet. He is a Belgian guy, and he used to work for Apple pretty long, 7 years. He was genome contributor. He was also responsible for all dynamic language in macOS computers. So in macOS, all the dynamic language, he was responsible for that. And this guy used to work for Apple doing MacRuby, and Apple paid him to do so. And somehow, for almost 3 years, Apple told him, you cannot keep developing this because we are not giving you money for this. You should move to another project. When that happened, he decided to build his own company, which became the Hyperbyte. And for this company, he built RubyMotion. So what's the big challenge behind? To move a garbage collector language like Ruby to reference counter environment like Objective-C. So what he did was to write some kind of memory management tool for Ruby, which now it's working. Well, I would like to show you a few things. Actually, I'm having a problem with the... Okay, let's try again. Recognize something shown. Nice. Okay, so we had this. Yes, I would like to show this. So the idea is you have this one and you want to get this. A nice iOS application. Well, this is Laurent Sassonnet, the founder of RubyMotion. And the idea behind this, you have your Ruby code, you, your Ruby code is passed in AST, which is the representation of the Ruby language internally on the system. Your Ruby code translates to this, which is the LLVM internal representation. This is a real small language. They have a few instructions, very easy. And in this stage, you can optimize your code. It's really amazing because LLVM is also used for Objective-C in other language. Rubinius is also using LLVM. And at the end, you get something like this, which is assembly. Let's have a look to how iOS applications look like. So you have the iOS SDK, you have the Foundations framework, you have the Objective-C runtime, and the language. This is the only thing we switch. So at the end, you have Ruby, just parallel to your Objective-C. You can exchange the codes. You can call Ruby to Objective-C another way around. And the question is, how fast is that? This is real fast. It just run like an Objective-C code. It's fast. Why does it work so well? Well, Objective-C and Ruby, they have the same father, as I like to think. They are all based on Smalltalk, and they have a little things that they share. A lot of ideas, and so on. One example is open classes. In Ruby, what some people monkey patching calls monkey patching. So all the classes are open. You can extend them. This also works in Objective-C. In Ruby, we have mixing. In Objective-C, they have two, but this is kind of meta programming. It's really difficult to reason about your code if you do this, but it is possible. At the end, you would ask, why would I want to run Ruby on iOS? Yeah, Objective-C is nice, so why don't you learn Objective-C? Well, the reason is when we solve problems, for example, for me, thinking in foreign language help you to make rational decisions. If you have ever worked with functional programming, when you come back to object-oriented programming language, you begin to think differently. You solve your problem just in other ways. Sometimes it gets better, sometimes it gets worse, but actually in most of cases it gets just better. Secondly, if you are here, you may love Ruby or Python, I believe, or something, or any other dynamic language. So you get what you love. And there are a lot of things. Verbosity is a big issue with Objective-C language. Those both examples are just doing the same. But if you count lines, Objective-C just much bigger. You are expressing a lot of things. Sometimes it is positive, sometimes it just sucks. And another thing, Objective-C will become a modern language lately. So help introduce closures, what you have in Ruby, and I believe Python have so, but the syntax will fucked up. So there is this page, fucking block syntax, because no one can remember it. It just fucked up. Don't make where you need it, you have to check. It's very difficult. But there is also the positive part of Objective-C. For example, in Ruby, we have now named parameter that were just introduced. And in MakeRuby was founded in 2007. We had already, because Objective-C has this idea. So this is living together and get the better from each other. What do you need to start? To start, if you see this part is Objective-C, this part is RubyMotion, you can choose whatever you want. So you have your own editor, you have the console, every tool that you are known to, so that you are used to. If you are an IDE guy, you can get RubyMine, which is actually great integrate to RubyMotion. So it's really nice to have. On the other part, you have just Xcode, an amazing IDE, a lot of features, but sometimes Xcode shows its faces. So you don't know why things are working. When they get broken, you don't know why they are broken. So you are looking for. Now, let's come to some demo. I will show you a little bit how to build a little application in RubyMotion. And I hope it works, because live coding always sucks. As I said, as I said before, it's just console. You get what you like. On the other part, you have the simulator just for developing. This is the same tool you use for Xcode and other things. Let's start the little application. Can you see this up there? Okay. So it's just a command line tool. We create a new application, pretty simple. It gets built, so you have almost the file structure that you have in Rails, so nothing new. If you see the content of the folder, it's just few files, nothing special, rec file as you are used to. Actually, with this, you have your first iOS application. You are done. If you just want rake, your Ruby code will be compiled, and the simulator will start, and well, you have an application. No window, but you have an application. Nothing there. Now let's write some code. Oh. Now we create a little window with a controller. Pretty easy, actually. Well, I can explain what's going on. We have a window. We create a window on the size of the display of your device. And we have a controller that we haven't created yet. And we set the controller as the root controller of your window, just to show. We set the color, white color, and that is. So now let's create this controller. Just for understanding, we'll do in the same file. So you have your first controller. Some magic. I will explain a little bit. So there are the objective here is this idea of delegation and protocols. Protocols, they are methods that you need to implement if you subclass a class, actually. So we have a class UA table view, we subclass it, and we implement some controllers. We are just setting a title for our thing. We are setting the number of the rows in the table, and we are filling in at the bottom. So Let's run this code. Oh. Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. So what we are doing is just create an array of hashes which has a country name because there is this class on iOS which is nslocal. From this class we get the ISO codes of different countries and we get their names and we put in a hash and this is an array. So just a little bit mapping, just like any Rubies would do probably, just using mapping and so on. I hope it fails so I can show the debugging. Did I save? I hope so. Well, I didn't. We are just having an error. This is actually how it looks like if something goes wrong. So as you can see, it's just real. It is debugger. You have a debugger in RubyMotion, and you get actually what your Ruby code is doing. So even though it is compiled, you can go back to the root how these things are built. Let's have a look. Well, it should work. Can you see better than me from the other side? I got it. Thank you. Now you have a pretty simple iOS application. It just scrolls like an iOS application and it actually feels like an iOS application. There is one more feature that this is only RubyMotion feature. You have, it's all dynamic language, you have HEPLs. So you have RB and Ruby, you have some other consoles in Python and so on. What you can do, which is really nice. So we have our device. Let's clean a little bit. Now you can select things on your simulator. As you could see, the content in your console was changing as you go over the thing. Now we can change the content in our simulator. So now the content of this cell should change. So you just have hello and so on. You can manipulate, you can play around. For me, this is actually a best way to learn the API. So you have a console, you enter something, and you see it changing just as the way you are typing. So enough demo. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Now let's say if what's happened if you want to start right now. What do you need to start? This is the worst part at the moment. RubyMotion it is not free. So the guy behind RubyMotion, he quit his job to start his company. So you will need to pay among 152 euros for RubyMotion. And that's all. If you want to start, a part of RubyMotion is open source, so you are able to manipulate all the system that builds RubyMotion, but the core idea, that's manage the memory, it's closed. So actually you can, part is open source, part is closed. And you would be not alone because we have a big community. We have ropers for almost everything, even though you don't have an acknowledgement or knowledge in Objective-C or the Cocoa APIs, you can start because there are a lot of libraries that will act like Ruby stuff. We have a lot of applications. Who does use the Campfire app, iOS app? Does anyone have it? No? This is actually written in RubyMotion. They are also front back. Who knows front back, the application? No one? Okay, this is actually a nice app. You take a picture of yourself and it uses both cameras of your iOS device. So you can make a selfie picture and take what is on the other side. Real nice. And well, actually, we have also a conference. If you want to attend one in here, we meet together. And there is a lot of stuff, so just go out on the internet, you will probably find us. And I'm actually done. Still have some time? 5 minutes? You want to still see some demo? Okay, nice. I happen to have some pictures, so let's put some picture on our table to look a little bit nicer. I have a little folder with some pictures just named by countries and so on. I just copied to the folder where I'm working right now. Let's run again rake. Well, the pictures, yes. This is what we do just to set the pictures on our cells. Well, we are done. We have a nice little application in few minutes. There are also some frameworks for people that want to write some games that are real nice out there. So just go around and search for RubyMotion. You will find there is frameworks that help you to build games in few minutes. So you could be able to write a little game in 20 minutes. This is just this dynamic that you will not find in Objective-C world, so it's really difficult. So thank you very much. That was my talk. Any question? Yes? Well, okay. RubyMotion comes with a test framework. It is Bacon. Do you know Bacon? Aspect will not work because they do a lot of magic out there. So, but you get Bacon. It actually the only idea you have to change a little bit your mind when you are doing mobile phones application. So Aspect wouldn't really work that well, but Bacon it's actually perfect for that. So you will have to change. Next question? Yes? Yes, actually there are some limitations. For example, Apple don't allow people to execute, interpret strings and run as code. For example, we can do in Ruby with eval, just run yours. Apple wouldn't allow you to do this. So this feature was removed. By this, also some compatibility, like for example, you will not be able to run Rails on your iPhone because Rails do a lot of string evaluation. And also you will not be able to do bindings like in Ruby because bindings, it is possible but would cost a lot of, yes, your code would run a little bit slower because there are a lot of magic. It is possible but it is not, would not work so well. Yeah. No, you have also access to the Apple APIs, which is Constant Dispatch, a pretty amazing concurrency library, real nice, so you can get everything for free, just real concurrency, parallelism, and everything that you want. Yep. Yes? Yes? There is a guy in the community who wrote his one RuPy to do this. Actually, it's nice to have, but sometimes if you are reading the documents and document, yes, you have to switch always between both styles. It's annoying. Yeah. More question? Yes. Yes, it would say it's not supported actually. Yes. Yes. Question? Somewhere? So, okay. Thank you.